Fine Time regrets to inform its viewers that due to recent public behavior, we are severing our business relationship with Kanye West. We'll be canceling all current and planned projects, including fan favorite Kardashian AV titles, Real or Fake. Thank you, and please enjoy the show.
Hello, party people. It's your boy Dre. Did you know that already? Now you do. Out there in video game land, welcome everybody to Fine Time. I've embraced the video game land. I'm not embarrassed of it anymore, Steve.
Oh, you just welcomed everybody. That doesn't include Elon Musk, does it?
No, he's not a person. Kevin, is Elon Musk a person?
I mean, for $8 a month, Elon Musk could be a person if it goes to Fine Time.
You know that tweet I made the other day about Super Mario Odyssey? Someone comes to my mentions like, I like the Hat in Time better. So I just replied back to them, are you even a person? And they just said no. I was like, okay, I guess that's the end of that conversation.
Imagine walking up with that take and then not even following through.
Yeah, because people who say that are, they're, what can I say?
Well, whoever that was definitely better send us $8 a month.
I like Balan Wonderworld better, actually.
Not even Yuji Naka would say that. Like, he hates his own creation.
That's how you explicitly identify Satan if they say that.
I specifically think of South Park Satan when it comes to things like that. So that's
South Park Satan loves Balan Wonderworld.
Of course. Why wouldn't he? All right. Since Kevin wasn't here with us last week, everyone missed his dulcet tones. Why don't you go first, Kevin? What you've been playing?
Yeah, I've got another one of those real deep cuts in my back pocket that you guys missed last time. I've been playing Grand Theft Auto Vice City Definitive Edition. So obviously everybody knows about Vice City by this point. So I'm going to mostly kind of stick to primarily the technical aspects of the Definitive Edition. And to start out, I did play some of the San Andreas Definitive Edition right at launch that came out on Game Pass. And I love San Andreas. Out of the original 3D GTAs, that one really has my heart. And it was a mess. Everybody knows, right? It was glitchy. It had some like really weird shit going on with mismatched textures, where it would look clean and then something next to it would look super muddy. It had these really weird, just issues with like the topography not lining up properly and the weather effects, specifically the rain looked really shitty.
I remember seeing the rain on Digital Foundry. I remember seeing the rain. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it was bad. And all of those things really added up to make it just very much feel like an overall subpar experience. So I didn't spend very much time with that. San Andreas was definitely better even in the 360 port, which was basically a port of the mobile version at that time. So I don't know that was the only one I had played at launch. I don't know if GTA 3 and Vice City were as in a rough of condition at launch as San Andreas was, and if they've just really fixed everything, or if maybe Vice City had less issues tiring out in the first place. But for the most part, I haven't noticed those issues here. There are still like the odd like muddy texture, but for the most part, this looks and runs pretty good. Enough that I would say it deserves to be called the definitive edition. This is a pretty good way to play this game. I even actually recently, the collection was on sale on half price on PSN, and I picked that up. It's good enough that I'm interested in going and revisiting San Andreas again, based on the quality of Vice City here.
Interesting. Okay.
It's really hard for me to compare to the original because it's been so long since I've actually, sat down and put any amount of time into the PS2 version or the original version of Vice City. But it does, from what I can recall, seem like they did quite a fairly good job on some quality of life things, specifically aiming. But there is something that I feel is really lost in translation from what maybe was just how Vice City was originally, or maybe is just my nostalgia glasses sitting squarely on, because the way I remember Vice City was much more that it was they really played up how oversaturated it was, and that that neon vibe to everything, and that's still here, but and maybe it's just with the HD graphics and everything being cleaned up, maybe that just doesn't shine through as much, or maybe they toned it down. I just missed that a little bit, but again, I might just be remembering that being more prevalent than it actually was in the first place.
I think you are remembering correctly. I think your memories are correct, only because, again, going back to Digital Foundry, I've never played these games. I've never really played GTA past like 2. I've never played a GTA with 3D graphics, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that about you.
I played the first 2 a lot, but I just never went past that for some reason. Anyway, Digital Foundry had a thing about the original GTA 3, I guess Liberty City or whatever we want to call it now. And it's true. There was a lot of like green tone and blue tone to give it like a certain look, and that's completely gone. So I didn't really look at Vice City, but I would imagine the same thing happened, whether it was sort of like highlighting the neon pinks or whatever might be going on, whatever you think is Miami is. That's probably also gone in this. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of taste, but honestly, I would miss that stuff too if I were you.
Yeah, it is still there. There's still like the neon signs and just the decor of the buildings. But I always remember, like, especially if it was dark out and it was rainy, like just the like neon pink and green hue would just glow off of everything, it seemed like, and that's gone a little bit. Even the character models, so they've cleaned everything up, and the character models look much more cartoony than they originally did. Obviously they can't really operate under the guise of like trying to make it look somewhat realistic and then it blurring out. The animations are still the awkward, stiff original PS2 animations, which is fine, but then when taking those new models and how they look in comparison with the cleaned up models in comparison with those animations, something just looks a little bit mismatched or off about that.
Yeah, because you have new models and old animations, which makes it look. I'm going to talk about Alan Wake in a second, and I kind of felt the same way about that. So
right, yeah.
Yep.
So I do want to just kind of comment on how I look at Rockstar's open world game design and how it's evolved, especially after playing this, because it really highlights some of those things. So the good, and this is fairly obvious, there's no checkpoints when you start a mission in Vice City, even in the definitive version, and these missions are just very unreliable. So I'll give a little bit of a story that kind of gives some context to this. There's a mission where you have to pick up your friend Lance, and you have to drive most of the way across town, and then you have to get 2 cops to get out of their cars and follow you into a garage, so that you can beat them up and steal their clothes. Now, even this part of the mission took me like 7 or 8 fucking tries, with no fault of my own, because always the cops would park their fucking cars in front of where the garage closes, and then so I spent over and over so much time trying to get another car and like ram the cop cars out of the way, and then another cop would come and park it, and it would say, well, you need to, there's something in the way of the door, you can't do this, and it was endlessly frustrating. So when I finally do this, then you have to go down to the mall, then you have to go into a store and plant a bomb, and then you have to get out of the mall, and then you have to find a car, and you have to get like all the way to the other side of town. So finally, after getting the fucking cops clothes, I was already endlessly frustrated. I dropped the bomb, and I got out of the mall, and I got in a car, and then it's like, you left Lance, and there's fucking cops all over. I've got like 4-star rating at this point.
Boy.
And so I I was not willing to go in and try and get the cop clothes again. So I like went and I tried to go to the pay and spray, and it wasn't open for that mission. So I like went over and from a distance, like strategically took out all of the cops that I could to just try and like carve a safe way into the mall. And I get into the mall and I clear out all of the cops in there. Like this has taken an elaborate amount of time.
Yeah.
And Lance is stuck behind the counter of the fucking pizza place in the mall, and I can't get him out, to the point where the mission, like, I just had to go let myself die and start this over, and another 3 or 4 times trying to get the fucking cops closed.
Oh my god,
this is so frustrating. And now I know that we're talking about like fairly early as far as what we think of modern, open world 3D game design. So I can't give this too much shit. And even for the definitive edition, it's easy for me to play armchair developer and say, well, they should have just, shoehorned in checkpoints. That might not be able to be done because of something at an intrinsic level for one reason or another. But yeah, we knew this is a problem, but actually I like going back and playing through this, like, holy fuck, you sometimes want to gouge your eyes out because of shit like that. But
yeah,
a little bit of a different take on this. And I had this problem and noticed this to a degree when I was playing GTA 5, but especially with Red Dead 2. By far my biggest complaint with Red Dead 2 was in those games, it's extremely stringent what you need to do when you're on a mission, to the degree where there's one mission where you're with a group of people and you're going up to this mansion and you have to like ride your horses like up the walkway to the mansion. And if you deviate like into the field next to the fucking driveway to the mansion, you will fail the mission. Like, you need to 100% stay on the path for this. And there's a lot of that's a really like explicit glowing example of that problem in Red Dead. But there was definitely a lot of little things like that. They've put so much work into designing these missions that they need you to play it exactly how they say you need to play it. Alternatively, playing Vice City, and early Grand Theft Autos, they have a certain condition that needs to be met, and you can go about that almost any way that you can possibly conceive of. And as long as you meet what that condition is, you can go on with the mission. And that gives it so much more, life and character. So especially, I had that problem when I was playing Red Dead, but actually going back and sitting down and putting in the effort to play all the way through the Vice City campaign really highlights how much of that magic was lost, because those are really that, especially when you do, even by accident, find a way to complete a mission by doing something unique that the game wasn't expecting. That just feels really good. That makes it feel like your own experience, and you never really get that this is my experience when you're playing Red Dead. You find really unique and interesting things, but they're there for you to see. You're not making your own fun. So
yeah, I know what you mean. That's why I like Fallout so much, because, any given mission you could tackle a number of ways. Like if you, you need to get a key to get into this room, you could get the key off the person. You can kill them. You can steal the key. You can break the lock to the room and do it that way. You can do it. You can do all sorts of fucking things in that game. You know what I mean? Because they thought of them. And it's different from something like the Grand Theft Auto, where it's like, it's just very open-ended, however you accomplish that task. Fallout is a little more regimented, but the options available to you, however you want to play, anything that rigid, like you're describing with like Red Dead, I'm outie. Like I just can't. So
it is very off-putting. It really pulls you out of the immersion when something like that happens, and obviously that's not happening here. So yeah, I'm at the very, very end of the campaign on Vice City here, and I'm very much enjoying it. So if you're willing to put up with a little bit of janky bullshit, and can appreciate it for accounting for the time that it came out, I would give it a recommend for sure.
All right. I'm glad to hear someone, because all I've really heard about these is like the technical problems. I guess they came out like damn near a year ago. So I guess they've had a long time to polish them up. I don't remember when, because time does not mean anything anymore. So I don't remember how long ago they came out, but I'm glad it's to an acceptable place, even if some visuals are not the best. I guess as I mentioned previously, I guess now I'll talk about Alan Wake. Funny that we're both playing remastered things, but mine somewhat more recent than yours. But honestly, at this scheme of things, not really. It's pretty old. I played Alan Wake Remastered on PS5. I've never played Alan Wake before, so I can't contrast and compare too much here, but just know that going forward. So I like that it starts off with this Stephen King quote about something about horror doesn't always make sense because what you're scared of is the unknown and like blah, 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 shit like that. So basically almost telling the audience in 2010, hey, just go with it. Okay. Like don't worry about it. Just play, which I think at that time with where games are at, that was probably a smart thing to do. The artistry and the world details in general in Alan Wake are insane. Like, this stuff is great. All the TV monitor stuff, like there's some spooky stuff in the beginning with like some eyeballs. I hate eyeballs from us talking about Stray, which still, I swear to God, I still think of those eyes, Steve. I close my eyes and I see the eyes.
That sounds like a you problem, Andre.
I'm not the only one.
That is a pretty deep-seated problem because if you're closing your eyes, you're already thinking about eyes.
Yeah.
You've got a complex.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't expect to be ganged up. You know what? I came here to espouse my fears to my friends, and all I'm getting is dunked on. Jeez. Oh, that sounds like a you problem.
I'm sorry you're afraid of your eyeballs.
You're not sorry about shit. You're not sorry about a goddamn thing. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Alan Wake. Anyway, eyeballs on the monitors. There's like a fake Twilight Zone show called like, I forget what it's called, but it's like you can sit there and watch like little mini episodes of this. It's really cool. Like, and it's actually like live actors. You know what I mean? Doing this stuff. It's not like in-game graphics on the TV. It's really nice stuff. Like really great world details, excellent shadows and mist, obviously is what the game is known for. Like I love when the wind whips up and the mist is like, whipping through the trees and stuff. It creates this like incredible look. I think one of the things I liked most about Ghostwire Tokyo, if you remember, was that like when you're in danger and there's like enemies around, all the street lights and all the lights around you turn red. So it's like, oh shit, there's something here. I thought like little details like that. I kind of feel the same about Alan Wake. Just really great stuff in that regard. And also, I love when games do the episodes thing and really plays it up like you're playing episodes. I don't know why that's something that works on me, because this game has, I don't know if I want to say how many chapters, but there's X amount of chapters. And when you get to the end of one, each one has a name, and then they play a song at the end. A licensed song, mind you. This game has everything from Poe to David Bowie in here. Like it's a pretty eclectic soundtrack. I'm actually glad they got to relicense all that music, because you know what a bitch that is sometimes, but they sure did it. I like when games do that. Steve, wasn't there? Surely you can think of some Japanese game, some JRPG that's like, next time on Tales of Zestiria or something, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever the fuck. Like they like to do that. And then you start the next one last time on Alan Wake, and they give you a little recap, even though you're just like still playing. It's not like you turn off the game and came back. I love that stuff. I know it's cheesy, but I love it.
Well, I just wrapped up Until Dawn, and they did that shit the entire game.
Okay, great. See, I love stuff like that.
I'm not talking about Until Dawn today. Don't get your hopes up. You don't have to skip ahead.
I still got to play that someday. One of these days, I've been saying that since 2015, but I got it. So here's the problem with Alan Wake. I don't want to say a fatal flaw, because I still overall enjoyed the game, but this game is deeply, deeply marred by its combat. Because, boy, it tries to go for the Resident Evil thing of like being like survival horror, right? Because you have limited resources, you're finding weapons, you're finding ammo, and you have limited amounts of those. And you can only carry so much. So you need to manage that stuff. And I like that stuff, but the actual combat is so fucking cheap sometimes. You'll get surrounded by enemies. You have no means of fending them off. And even if you do, they expect you to like run towards some light, because the enemies can't come into the light. That's the gimmick. But it's like, you can't run very fast because you have a very short stamina meter that's not visible. So you have no idea when you're going to stop running. It's very, very obnoxious. Sometimes guys will just sneak up right behind you. You don't even know they're there and just whack you 3 times and you're dead. You got to do the sequence over. It has very generous checkpoints.
There's no visual on him that like indicates that he's going to stop running. Like he doesn't start breathing louder or anything, or he just suddenly stops. No,
he doesn't just suddenly stop. But yeah, I guess he starts slowing down a little bit, but it's very short. So it's not like, oh no, he all of a sudden like comes to a stop, but it's not. It's just so short that you may as well not be able to run at all. It's very ineffective, and I really hate games that have stamina stuff for no fucking reason other than to just have it. Man, like the auto aim works pretty well. You don't have to aim too like precise to shoot guys. I guess that's good, but. Man, I've died to so many cheap situations in this game. It is unbelievable. Steve, remember on our previous creative endeavor, we played Resident Evil Revelations 2 and how pissed off both of us were at that combat at times? This almost approached that. Almost. That's how bad this was sometimes.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, but honestly... the concept is so incredible in Alan Wake, and they execute their concept and story so great that it's worth it. It really is. Unlike Resident Evil Revelations 2, where it's just like, this is terrible. So overall, the game was worth playing, despite that the combat was awful. It's a little hokey. I mean, you're a writer who's writing a story and then crazy stuff happens. I don't want to spoil, but you know how that kind of stuff goes. It's literary, it's weird, it's full of symbolism, but that's the kind of cheesy stuff I like, so it's good.
And then Stephen King opens the door and goes, "Hey, look at the fun story I wrote," and then steals all your royalties.
Wow, Jesus Christ. You would actually like Alan Wake, Steve. I actually recommend this to you. Kevin, have you ever played this?
I haven't.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure that you would get into it that much. This is a Steve game, though. I actually do feel if it comes on PlayStation Plus Royale with cheese or like whatever, or if you just get a wild hair up your ass like I did and I wanted to play it, it was only $30, so I just like, fuck it, why not? It's still somewhat spoopy time. I think you would actually really enjoy this game. A couple other things, though, about it. It's rated teen. I don't know if that was like a conscious choice to like have it not be rated mature, but it's like I feel like they missed out on a couple of like things that they could have had some impact with if they were allowed to show but did not show, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So it felt like a conscious choice to have this rated teen. I don't know if I'm the only one who's biased that way. You want to see a horror movie and then you see the PG-13, it's like, this isn't going to be any good, right? So maybe that's just me. Not that this is a horror game, but speaking of survival horror in general, this is weirdly how I would have liked Resident Evil 4 to go. Resident Evil 4, as it was presented to us, was not a game I liked. I was a big fan of Resident Evil before that until 4 happened. If Resident Evil 4 were more like this, because like I said, there's big elements of survival horror with the ammo and stuff, and it's dark and it's shadow and light and all that stuff. Yeah, it's supernatural. There's more like, I don't want to say ghosts, but stuff like that Resident Evil doesn't necessarily deal in, even though there's zombies. I could have accepted a game like this, honestly. And I read that the sequel to Alan Wake is going to be more survival horror. So maybe they will actually go in more that direction some more. So I would enjoy that. Anyway, for the time, I'm glad it found an audience, and I'm glad it gets to be remastered and people remembered it enough in an age in 2010, man. Think about it. It's an age of where, we're still doing Halo and Gears of War. We're like the shit on Xbox 360. I'm glad Alan Wake despite its flaws, got to find an audience and be remembered enough today to even have a remaster. So I enjoyed it overall.
Those eyeballs sounded pretty spooky.
Oh, they were spoopy as fuck. They were not. I did not like them. They weren't stray, but boy, I tell you what, Steve is looking at me right now, audience, with contempt. He'll say it's not contempt, but I know contempt when I see it.
Maybe he's just showing you his eyeballs real closely to try and scare you.
Well, for the audience at home that can't see my eyeballs, why don't I start from the beginning? Because it is still Spoopy Month, I broke open my copy of the Zombies Ate My Neighbors / Ghoul Patrol double pack. Now, we are spoiled with collections and compilations and retro revivals these days because, boy, oh boy, does this make it hard to like this set in the first place. You load in games from the menu, as in you have the brand new menu, and then you pick a game, and then you choose the character and enter in a password from the no frills menu, enter a password. So if you wanted to look at the fun, trippy opening sequence from Zombies Ate My Neighbors, oh, too bad. Nope, not allowed.
What a shame, huh? That's like, I remember that still. And I only played that game when it came out. That was burned into my memory. Too bad we don't get to see that anymore.
And there is a grid. There's a fun interview with one of the developers of the game here. And it's, so, maybe after that you're thinking, maybe you want to try other versions of Zombies Ate My Neighbors, like the shitty Genesis version or the weird European version where they had to swap out the chainsaw guys and give them axes. But you only get to play the Super Nintendo version of both games. And that's fine, because if we're going to play if you're only going to give one, you might as well give the one that controls well. So you could all imagine my surprise that when I'm logging into the game and I press Y and I use the first aid kit instead of shooting a zombie. So then I'm pressing the pause menu and I find out all the controls are reversed, and unlike other modern collections, you don't just change that from the menu like a normal person. I gotta do it at a system level like a fucking animal.
Oh.
I would have given up long ago, but this is for Zombies Ate My Neighbors, one of my favorite games, which is getting more steam these days. So I will endure this for zombies. I now have a command routine on my Switch called Zombies, and that's explicitly what it's for, to play this stupid 2-pack.
I don't think I've ever done anything on the system level to change controls on a game yet. I'm sure it's coming.
Once I did all that, Zombies Ate My Neighbors is just as fun and frustrating as I remember it. But then there's fucking Ghoul Patrol.
All right, let's tell the people what happened. I knew you were playing this 2-pack, and then I saw in the notes that you hated Ghoul Patrol. Okay, because everyone, I'm sorry to spoil a surprise, but everyone can just hear the disdain in your voice right now with the fucking Ghoul Patrol. So I don't think I ruined anything.
No, you didn't.
I was like, okay, I've never played Ghoul Patrol. I'll play it, quote unquote, with you, and I'll see what I think too, because I'm familiar with Zombies Ate My Neighbors, not familiar with this. You go first. You go first. Why don't you like Ghoul Patrol?
Zombies Ate My Neighbors eases you into its craziness. I feel like Ghoul Patrol doesn't.
Okay.
I feel like you get dropped right into Ghoul Patrol and everything's already trying to mob you.
I feel the exact opposite. I feel that Zombies Ate My Neighbors doesn't tell you anything. Like, at least Ghoul Patrol has like number of victims on the screen. I didn't even understand the object of the game, and the manual was no help at the time. I was like, okay, do I just kill everybody? Do I just search for a certain item? Do I find an exit? Oh, the exit only appears when I get all the people. But how do I know how many people there are? I didn't know there was a radar, which honestly isn't as helpful as it seems, because you got to be fairly close to the people to find them on the radar. It's not an easy game to pick up. We're used to it because we played zombies, but like for the uninitiated, it's really not. I feel like Ghoul Patrol messages what it wants you to do a lot better.
Yeah, and it messages it a little too much by shouting, help me, way too fucking much while I'm trying to navigate the rest of the screen.
They're not that big? I have no idea why you think that's a problem.
I don't know, maybe also while I'm trying to figure out what all my weapons do. I figured out, yes, there was a rainbow of weapons in Zombies Ate My Neighbors too, but I knew what all that shit does at a glance. Here I have red gun, blue gun, orange gun, green gun, polka dot gun, crossbow. I mean, they're all guns.
You're telling me you knew what the clown face did at a glance in Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
I knew by looking at the
You knew what the blue potion did. You know what the blue potion did in Zombies. Give me a break. No, you didn't.
I know what the guns did. The weapons did.
Okay, but I'm just saying that like sometimes you have to experiment in this shit. Okay, so you don't know what the gun does. You fire one bullet. Okay, now I know what it does. Like, okay.
But can you explain why I'm walking around like I'm like my leg is broken but I'm still expected to jump and slide through shit?
Because you move so much faster when you do those things and you can run. I think here's the thing that I think is indisputable about Ghoul Patrol, even though you're going to dispute, and that's fine, over Zombies Ate My Neighbors. The movement options you have in Ghoul Patrol are superior. You move slower to start, it has a bit of inertia to it, which I really appreciate. One thing I've never liked about Zombies Ate My Neighbors is how fast and sticky the controls were. You move at a pace that feels a little fast for when you want to be careful, and then it's like it feels very digital, whereas Ghoul Patrol feels more analog, even though it's still digital. You know what I mean? You have inertia, which I really appreciate, and it's slower paced. And you can run, and you can slide, and you can jump. And by the way, that slide is really fast.
And none of that stuff feels right to me.
Why?
It just doesn't.
Okay, you got to do better than that. Like, if you really don't, why wouldn't these movement options be welcome? I have no idea why you wouldn't want to do that.
Because the levels don't feel like they're really built for it, or they are, but I don't really feel inclined to really hang around there when Zombies Ate My Neighbors is right there on the other side of the card.
Literally not what I asked you. Why aren't these movement options good in a game like this? Why wouldn't you want to run and jump and slide? Don't you wish you could do that in Zombies Ate My Neighbors?
No, because the game's not built for it.
This is.
It doesn't feel right. And I'm not the only one that thinks that way.
Well, no one's ever told me a reason why, including yourself, because I just, for a whole minute, you just gave me it doesn't feel right. Why doesn't it? Why wouldn't that? You can jump over countertops and get to other places. You can get away from enemies real fast. Hold on. You can get away from enemies real fast by getting on tables and chairs and stuff. So you actually have a fucking fighting chance, unlike Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
You're not supposed to fight, though. The objective is to save the neighbors.
Yeah, and then if the room is full of zombies or whatever is in there, you don't have to get hit by them, unlike Zombies Ate My Neighbors, where you better fight your way through or tank it or turn into the beast or something. You have to do that in Zombies Ate My Neighbors. You have the option of not doing that in Ghoul Patrol.
I just don't like it.
Great argument, Steve. Excellent.
This is the most heated argument about Ghoul Patrol that you can find on any podcast anywhere.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Everyone says they don't fucking like this game, and literally, including my co-host, won't tell me why.
I don't like the way it feels. It feels like it has less atmosphere than the first game. Like, there was a sense of humor in the first game that the second one doesn't really have. I don't really like Ghoul Patrol. I don't see why I have to defend Ghoul Patrol. You're the one with the minimum. You're the only person I know that likes Ghoul Patrol.
I mean, I was literally just talking about the movement options, but if you want to talk about the aesthetics and stuff, yeah, I like the title cards in Zombies Ate My Neighbors more. Yeah, that's fun. Level 7, they all have like a name. You know what I mean? I appreciate that versus like the teeth just close and then you're in the next level. Like, yeah, sure. Okay.
I mean, we can go back to movement if you like. I feel like, okay, you can do all that stuff, but if it feels like I'm starting off walking in Jell-O, what's the point of having the rest of those acrobatics?
Because that goes away really quickly, and it's not Jell-O. It's slow.
I'm a fat ass, and I walk faster than the characters in Ghoul Patrol.
I appreciate it because the game, like, stuff just appears in front of you and stuff in both these games. I'd rather be able to move slow enough to react to it versus where in Zombies Ate My Neighbors, stuff just happens to you sometimes. It still happens in Ghoul Patrol, but like, at least you can react to it because you can move slow enough to be like, whoa, or slide away from it, or jump over it because you have movement options, or run away from it. You can't do that in Zombies.
I wonder if for Steve, is it like a patience thing? I just wonder because I feel like I understand where you're coming from as far as I just don't like the feeling and you're talking about the slow movement. Whereas sometimes for me, like
I can deal with slow movement. In fact, in a little bit, I'm going to talk about a game where I loved having slow movement, but it just doesn't feel right to call something the sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbors and then change the way it feels. But no, it gets still top down. And it's still all the rules here when all you really needed to do and make a whole other set of Zombies Ate My Neighbors levels. That was perfectly acceptable in 1994.
I wouldn't have liked that at all. I had already had enough zombies from the first game, and it's like, I don't want the exact same thing. Isn't the whole reason why they made Ghoul Patrol is because they actually weren't allowed to do that? Wasn't there like some sort of licensing?
It started off as something else, and then Zombies Ate My Neighbors sold way more than they thought it would, so it became Ghoul Patrol.
It's funny because I got Zombies Ate My Neighbors on a discount. Like, it was like $30, which at the time was cheap, remember, for a SNES card.
Yeah, that's how I got it for, too.
Yeah, and it was new. And I was like, okay. And I was like, wow, this game, I guess it got a reputation over time after they sort of gave up on it price-wise. Look, both these games are sort of not fatally flawed, but very, very flawed in concept. We play them because they're fun. Like in like gameplay and like, oh, here are these weapons. Oh, here are these weird creatures. Just for the record, I don't think either of these games are the shit. I may prefer playing Ghoul Patrol, but like, I'm also apparently supposed to play Zombies Ate My Neighbors with two people, which nobody around me was interested in playing this game, so I didn't. So, like, that's what everyone says.
I didn't get to play either with anyone else.
I thought you said you did.
Not now, for this last playthrough.
No, I mean, like, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day, I would play with my uncle and others, but in the year of my Lord 2022, no, it's just me in my basement here by myself. Hey, little pig cow from Not Harvest Moon, do you want to play Ghoul Patrol? I don't have thumbs. Oh, okay, I guess not then.
Oh, wow, I didn't think I'd hear that personified. Oh, can you give me the I feel like they're the same in both games, the victim death sound?
Oh, that's mostly a computer.
No, that's a tone.
Bow!
See, I knew you had it in you.
I thought you would want the from the first game, but that wasn't in this game.
No, the high pitched one. That's the one I like. By the way, like, I don't know. I got as far. Well, I got farther than that. But in Zombies Ate My Neighbors, that fucking baby. That stupid baby boss. Oh my god. I forgot how fucking annoying that is.
In this past playthrough, I made a few levels past the worms by myself.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, everybody. Neither game is perfect. I think at this rate, I prefer playing Ghoul Patrol. If I'm going to go back to the slots, what I'm going to play.
But hey, you know what else I played? And yeah, I can play something slower paced. I guess that means we all played a revamped something this week. I played the Resident Evil 2 remake on PlayStation 5. I mean, that's something, right?
I honestly, until you told me you were doing this, I forgot that they PS5'd Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, honestly.
They PS5'd 8 too.
Oh boy. Well, no, that was from the get-go.
I mean, 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a long time since I played Resident Evil 2 on anything, even though it came out on everything. You guys remember when it came out on Gamecom?
I wish I didn't, but I do now. I mean, surely it's just a generic side-scroller?
No, they attempted to do Leon's campaign smushed down onto a monochrome thing. It is something to see.
Didn't they try it on Game Boy Color?
Not here, they didn't. Or maybe they did. I don't know.
Original Resident Evil, I mean. Anyway.
So yeah, it's from what I remember of Resident Evil 2, playing it on Dreamcast and GameCube, I think it's mostly the same game in terms of, the story beats and everything else that happens in that game. But it's still, there's the little things. Steve loves his adaptive triggers, especially here. And Yes, I know. Steve loves the adaptive triggers. Steve should legally marry the adaptive triggers at this stage, but
I already married the adaptive triggers, so we're going to have to be a throuple if you're going to marry them too.
I know, but since Resident Evil 2 is a survival horror game, even with the 3D paint job, you have to really consciously use everything from the pea shooter to the flamethrower, and so everything you do has weight, and you really start second guessing whether you really should have used that stuff or if you should have just tried and weaved that past half the time. It just feels great.
Oh my God, you're giving me flashbacks and anxiety.
Yeah, I know, because in a previous life, I know you complained about not having enough ammo to get around. He's like, I just want to shoot zombies, bang, bang, bang. And really, I'm okay with the survival horror being survival horror, but I wouldn't have minded a few other modern touches. Like when you get grabbed in a certain direction, for instance, you can jab a knife or grenade in the mouth to escape. Or if you're out of that but if you're out of that shit, you have to sit through a short scene of a struggle that you can't break out of by wiggling the sticks or pushing the buttons, and it feels much longer than it should when you're getting bit. It's like, okay, I get it. I'm getting bit now. It's like comically long for something that should just be okay. I get it. I got bit. And then when you die, there's an even longer scene of you getting ate even more. It's like, okay, I am dead. Can I reload from the last typewriter now?
Didn't they do that in the original, or I think most of the PS1 games where they kind of just spin the camera around when you get munched on while it says you have died, right? I feel like that's always a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like here, they're just maintaining something for the sake of maintaining it. Like they could have streamlined it a bit more, or felt like you had some form of agency, because I feel like I have time to pet the dog, reach for a glass of water, maybe trim a nail or two while I'm getting bit.
It probably doesn't feel appropriate in this current remake, I guess, but sticking to a traditional thing. But
yeah, honestly, for a series as cheesy as it is, I kind of feel like the remake plays it almost too straight with the story beats. Like, if you've been sticking around with the series for a while, Ada's some bad news, so it could have been funny to shoot Ada in the back of the head and, get no, you can't do that. That's you just caused a time paradox, even though you should be a big hero now. Like Metal Gear Solid 3, where you could shoot Ocelot halfway through and get a trophy for that and then reload from the save. Ha ha ha. No fun stuff like that.
If we were a more popular show, I would advise you against pissing off the Ada Wong stands, but I don't think any of them listen, so it's fine.
Okay, half of them just found out she was Asian the other day. So.
Oh my God, I saw that too. I fucking saw that too.
So how smart are they really?
I mean, look, I know. I'm sorry. Her name is Ada Wong. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. What the? I mean, anyway.
Does she look more Asian to you? I'm like, what?
Yeah, are people fucking stupid? Anyway.
But you know what? I had fun. This might be an Andre game. I know you said to me the other day you didn't like Resident Evil 2 that much, but I think if it's just the right price and you're looking to do some survival horror-y something, this might be for Andre.
Well, it is on sale right now. You can get Resident Evil 2 and 3 for like $18-19, so I don't know, I might. And I don't dislike Resident Evil 2. It's my least favorite of the classic 6. That's all. Of those being 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, 2002, and 0. 2 is my least favorite of those. But that doesn't mean I don't like it. And that wouldn't mean I'm not interested in seeing graphics on PlayStation 5 at 120 frames a second. So I definitely may do that sometime for cheap.
I think you should.
All right. We're going to take a break. We might have big questions, sort of, kind of, after this. We're back. I polished off the rest of Ghoul Patrol. It was great, Steve. I enjoyed every second of it.
That sounds impossible, but okay.
You don't know what I did. You don't know anything about me.
It's pretty dangerous playing Switch in our sexy shower, though.
Yeah, but I had some risks you have to take.
Let me tell you, listeners, the shower was a little bit less sexy as these two continued to argue about Ghoul Patrol during sexy shower time.
But we argued while we were naked. That's sexy. Dicks flopping around and everything.
I said a little less sexy. The Ghoul Patrol argument didn't add anything to sexy shower time is all I'm saying.
I beg to differ.
I don't know. I was feeling more limp than a zombie's than a zombie on payday for sure.
The candy
Andre's
bar?
found a new kink. Ghoul Patrol arguing.
So don't search for that on X videos or something. I don't think you're going to get any hits.
Well, you'll probably get a very involved Ghoul Patrol playthrough.
Oh,
hey, we play our
Jesus
cards
Christ.
right. This is how we could make Find Time real big. When you search on X videos Ghoul Patrol argument, that's when we come into the picture.
Well, just that, but you ever see the videos where like people just do regular activities naked? I'm mowing the lawn, but I'm naked or whatever. Like it'll just be like that.
We'll get 5 comments that say, "Yeah, this is hot, but why aren't they taking off their shirts?"
We could commission Vin to make an animation of us in the shower while this argument's going on.
I love those, like when people animate like podcast stuff. It makes me, I don't know why I always like those. Even if I don't listen to that show, I don't know. I find those really funny. I hope we get popular enough one day where someone will want to do that for us. Okay. We got a few big questions. Not a whole fuck of a lot happened, but we do want to do something.
Thanks a lot, game news media.
I thought you were going to say like, thanks a lot, Bobby Kotick or something. I mean, like,
it can't all be his fault.
I mean, look, if we would have just said a racial slur like I implored him to last week so we could have something to talk about, then, geez. But, Steve, we do have a couple things. We're going to start with you.
Yeah, guys, the Callisto Protocol, you remember that game? It's one of the Dead Space games. It's not coming to Japan because it won't be certified by CERO. CERO? How do we say that?
I would say CERO.
Yeah, CERO, the Japanese Video Game Rating Board. So it's been determined by them that their game goes beyond even the CERO Z rating, 18 plus. So do we think this is a case of the developer making a stand that doesn't need to be made, or is CERO just out of line?
This is a toughie. I mean, it's easy to say CERO is out of line. In fact, that's the way I lean, because if you are going to have a very restricted rating, as you said, CERO Z ratings can't even be on the regular shelf at the Target or Walmart or whatever it might be in Japan. You have to ask for it like fucking porn. It's like, and even some games, I think The Evil Within, what is it called in Japan? Psycho Break. There's like a CERO D, which is like 17 plus, and then the CERO Z version, which is like 18, like restricted. So sometimes they sell 2 versions of the game, and they always say the Z version sells more. So people go out and seek this stuff. Is it you guys hear all this crazy stuff about Australia? Remember back in the day when they wouldn't certify most like Grand Theft Autos and shit like that? Like they have a thing there too where they feel like something can go past their top rating. But Kevin, I don't know if that's something they should be determining. I guess they have the power to, but man.
I get less kind of my point, less whether CERO is operating properly or not. Just talking about whether the developer is taking a stand. It makes me wonder if the dismemberments are so ingrained into the game, and they don't expect that it's going to sell enough to even justify putting in the work to redo the animations at this stage. Maybe it just doesn't make fiscal sense. Is that feasible, do you think? Because that's what I'm assuming has more to do than them taking a stand.
Yeah, I think so, because the only things I know about Dead Space is that you have those crazy creatures and you have that little zappy gun where you shoot off their little alien arms so they can't crawl after you or whatever. And I'm sure Callisto Protocol has the exact same thing. I don't know that for sure, but I'm just assuming that's the case. And if that is the case, How do you get around that? You don't, Steve.
Look, video games are a worldwide business. We play them here in America, right?
Oh, boy.
So, developers, they got to make all kinds of concessions region to region just to make sure ideal ratings land. We've all, no, not us, but, people with less of a life than we have complained before about character age and outfit adjustments for when games from Japan come to America. So it's easy to say that CERO's too squeamish, but even in 2005, Resident Evil 4 had to cut away when the chainsaw cut off Leon's head. So, I mean, it's not fun or 100% true to vision, but you make adjustments when you participate in global markets. And, like you said before, if the customer wants it, they're going to find it.
Yeah, it's just kind of a shame that can't be a thing. This is kind of weird, but I just remembered this. I don't know if they still do this, but Square Enix in Japan used to have this sub-label called Extreme Edges, where they would publish all these games that would get CERO Z rated in Japan, like Just Cause 3 or like Far Cry 5 or something. You know what I mean? Like they would snap up all those things and they would publish them there under this thing. So it's like, here are some, forbidden, some forbidden fruit from America, right? I don't know if they still do that, but that I just think talking about this topic reminded me of that. You guys remember that?
Because I love the name Extreme Edges.
Dude, and they had, how the E is in Square and Enix? It said Extreme Edges with the same E's. It was amazing.
Please tell me that Edges was spelled with a Z at the end, was it?
No, I think it was S.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah, but that is to say, it is a business in Japan to sell these kind of, again, forbidden fruit kind of games. So, but bringing this to America, just sort of a side topic, if you will, why are we so fucking afraid of our age restrictive ratings? We have them and we don't use them. We have a ESRB adults only. You're basically not allowed to use it. Like we have an NC-17 that's above rated R. We're basically not allowed to use it. And when anything gets rated that, it's such a big goddamn deal.
I think that's always for fear of sale implications, though, isn't it? You talk about in Japan, apparently they will go and seek these things out. But I've always heard that, as soon as entertainment industries hit this certain rating, then income just automatically drops. So that's always more of a finance thing.
That is true.
See, I was under the impression it was because retailers wouldn't carry those, but that's less of an answer as we're marching closer to digital, isn't it?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we have an adult only section in a digital age, password protected from the children?
Yes, we should. And in fact, I think in Japan, that's how it goes. You have to prove that your account is 18 plus to be able to buy CERO Z games on PSN or Nintendo eShop or whatever. So you've got to prove that. But I think as far as we go, I've always thought of it as our still puritanical fear of sex, because you get down to it in an M-rated game, you can show whatever violence you want. No game will ever be rated adults only for violence, except, Manhunt 2 or something that we try to make an example of.
2007 was nuts.
Yeah, that was fucking stupid. Remember that shit? The only way we're going to get it adults only here is sex. And we just can't be having sex because then it's porn or whatever. Because God forbid anyone looks at porn, even though the game is not. So I think that's why we don't use those ratings. People equate those ratings like rated X like we had back in the day that we don't have anymore because now it's associated with porn. That's the reason why they even changed it to NC-17 in the first place. So Kevin liked that for some. I feel like he got something to say about that.
Kevin's got something to say.
Oh, it just took me back to a more whimsical time. The actual idea of an X rating.
Yeah, X.
It just tickled Kevin. So
yeah, but it's like, we have to Tarantino can do whatever he wants with any studio as long as he gets that rated R, right? You just can't have that NC-17 God fucking forbid. So I honestly just think it's about sex. It's
you guys don't have
and
kids that when they're around that stuff, then they start asking uncomfortable questions. I got asked by my daughter a few days ago what sexy meant, and I didn't even want to address that directly. It made me uncomfortable, and I walked away.
Ask your mother.
Ask your mother.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I've never even heard of sexy before. I don't know. It must be a TV show, maybe.
Sounds like she's old enough to listen to Prince now. You better just let her listen to some of that stuff.
I don't think Prince is infecting our children's minds in 2022 too much.
Are any of us even interested in Callisto Protocol? Because like I've never played a Dead Space game, but like honestly, the more I see of Callisto Protocol, I kind of am into it. Honestly, I'm not saying I'm going to buy it right away, but I'm pretty interested, honestly.
I'm interested in when it lands on the Royale with Cheese service.
So not at all.
No, but have you seen the release schedule for this month?
It's packed. I mean, Sonic Frontiers is next week, and it's too much right now.
I got even more than I've not even played Sonic Frontiers, and I got a loaded month coming before so, in the future.
Kevin, the Dead Space trilogy master, is now going to tell us his opinion.
Yeah, it's not a Kevin game. Kevin's going to be busy with God of War Ragnarok this month, I think.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. Fucking
yeah,
Christ,
that's a week away. Are you playing that too, Steve?
I think I'm getting that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, me and Steve are in the middle of Bayonetta 3 as well, so it's like it's happening right now, everybody.
Maybe in the future. Hang in there, kids.
I'm looking forward to hearing Andre's review on Sonic Frontiers more than anything I've looked forward to on this show for quite a while. I'm very curious, actually.
So am I. I'm ready to hear my my thoughts on Sonic Frontiers as well, to be honest with you. Like, I'm actually really looking forward to this, but oh boy, we'll see, huh? So one of our favorite questions to ask on Find Time has finally been answered. Thanks to like that ongoing investigation by the Brazilian Competition Board, we're finding out all this stuff about Microsoft. We now know how much revenue is generated by Game Pass. Holy shit. So without further ado, the number is 2.9 billion. That was in 2021. We don't know this year yet so far. But last year, it generated $2.9 billion. I'm doing the Dr. Evil right now.
$1 billion.
Steve, that's a lot of goddamn money.
Yeah, I can't say I really had any real number in mind because it's just such a big block of content whenever you really... I don't have an Xbox, so my real window into is whenever I'm at someone else's house or I'm on Twitter and it's like, look at all these games we just threw on the Game Pass. So I really can't imagine it making money. But what's a number anyway, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it would have been near that much either. And I don't have a good frame of reference of like where to guess a number from, but this is the second generation of them in a solid second place behind Sony. So 2.9 billion just sounds like a lot.
It is a lot, but we also don't know what they spend on it because even like amateurs like us know that revenue does not equal profit. We also found this out from Brazil. Sony paid $3.5 million to make Ark Survival Evolved a March PlayStation Plus game, for instance, right? Microsoft paid $2.5 million to keep it on Game Pass for, I think, like 6 months. And they paid another 2.3 to have the sequel to Ark Survival Evolved when that comes out for Game Pass. So less than Sony, but Sony has more users. So obviously they're delivering that game to a lot more people and, yada, yada. So I'm sure it's all relative, right? So if you want to stack those numbers up against each other, like over time, Kevin, doesn't it seem like, I don't know, that's got to be a lot of money they're shelling out. And that's just for Ark. What about, they had the whole Final Fantasy shits up there. How much did they pay Square Enix for that, right?
Yeah, we always talk about this, and I agree. Like, objectively, I struggle to understand how this is profitable with what they're putting on Game Pass. But I always keep in mind that, this is Microsoft. and they're willing to spend money when they need to for optics reasons, like the Red Ring of Death. But they're not a company that just, goes on these money losing ventures to try and, sway the public opinion. And I don't think they're just interested in making themselves look better than Sony someday down the road. I'm sure they're looking at this year after year after year. And if it doesn't make fiscal sense, I don't think they would still be doing Game Pass at this point, just because, Phil Spencer is saying that it could be a good idea down the road.
Yeah, guys, it's very hard to imagine this making any sort of money. The same body of info like yielded that Nintendo pulled $1 billion for Nintendo Switch Online last year, and all that is access to the service and all those console apps with the really long names. So with that in mind, Nintendo made $1 billion on subscription services last year. I have a hard time saying Microsoft made that $2.9 billion on Game Pass.
Yeah, don't forget, minus whatever they paid Sega to have Sword of Vermilion on Sega Genesis, Nintendo Switch Online or whatever.
I somehow feel that whole catalog was cheaper than getting Arc for a few months.
You're telling me Rushing Beat or whatever it's called here, or Tough Enough, excuse me, didn't cost them a pretty penny.
I feel like we can license Tough Enough on the on our new cloud platform.
Then where's Zoop? Why don't we have Zoop?
We have Zoop. We just don't have anyone that wants to buy it. No, I'm just kidding. Disclaimer, we do not have Zoop.
Yeah, but you're right, Kevin. I think ultimately in a world where like Nintendo and Sony sell boatloads of software, no problem, Game Pass will just continue to be a bad look. Doesn't matter how much they make off of it. You know what I mean? At some point, it just continues to make you look a certain way. And maybe they're fine with that. And who am I to say? Whatever.
No, when you talk about Game Pass being a bad look, I mean, maybe it paints a picture that you can't just sell the software traditionally. But I also do think that a lot of people look at Game Pass as a very, user friendly move on their behalf. I don't know that I agree that I wouldn't classify Game Pass as giving them a bad look necessarily. It does paint them in a different light, though.
I keep muttering this to myself, but I feel like every time we see more Game Pass news, it feels like they want Xbox to be more a service than a console. Like services and Game Passes and having a store of games, like that's all well and good, but why have an Xbox in the next decade?
They've been trying to do this for forever. I feel like, like every 5 years they try to have some initiative on Windows. Like, remember Games for Windows Live?
Yes.
Yeah. And like all sorts of shit. They always try this shit. And now it's PC Game Pass or whatever, which, look, fine. And then the cloud stuff and whatever. But I don't know. Maybe it'll stick this time. Who fucking knows? One other thing, though, I want to talk about is that just regarding, everyone's seen this stuff with Sony and Call of Duty and then bickering back and forth. Oh, we need it. Microsoft's like, oh, no, they don't. Whatever. He said, right? And we found out like some of the stipulations, which are no surprise, that Sony wanted was no extra content on Xbox and no hardware enhancements over PS5, such as like frame rate or whatever, and like no Game Pass membership benefits. That was specific language, whatever that means. And it's like, look, here's my thoughts. You guys tell me what you think, or you tell me, or whatever. Sony, you don't really need Call of Duty that bad. Not as much as you think you do anyway. Nintendo doesn't need Call of Duty. They're just fine. You actually don't need this. Like, maybe make other things of your own accord that people will enjoy and endear people to your brand. Like, Sony is not the industry leader because of Call of Duty. Like, I think they'll be just fucking fine. I mean, is that off base, Kevin? I mean, I just don't know why they're fretting this so much.
Do you guys want to hear my conspiracy theory for a moment here? I don't think they're fretting about it near as much as they're making it out to be. I feel like they're kind of really amplifying this messaging just to kind of build their case for further regulatory battles that we keep seeing pop up. This is the kind of the modern console war in a way that these companies are fighting in regulatory battles more than I think we've ever seen before. And if they keep making this case about Call of Duty and how poor Sony isn't getting it, I think that this is kind of more of a narrative than Sony just being genuinely concerned about it.
I kind of agree, Steve.
I don't know, guys. I mean, I'm not. We all know I'm fairly new in Sony land, but even I know that Killzone and SOCOM are right fucking there. And if they really wanted to compete directly in that space to give the finger to Microsoft, they can pool however many people on there and make any one of those that annual shooter for the PlayStation only in that very specific space.
Can you imagine the bedlam that would happen if, like, oh no, we're not doing Horizon 3. We're going to make Killzone 7, Guerrilla Games said. And then, like, I mean, they do make that, right? I'm not making that up. I'm pretty sure it's the same studio. Anyway,
Yep.
Like, yeah, it just, like, I can't imagine. It would be like, Killzone.
I mean, Nintendo's already right here with Splatoon selling, those absurdly big numbers we went over like a month ago. So they don't need a Call of Duty at all.
I don't know why I just said Killzone, like New York City, like the pace.
New York City. I know.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. All right, we have a couple more. Kevin, big question.
Yeah, and in related news, while we're on subscription services, there was some what could be taken as bad news from both Sony and Microsoft services recently. Sony has lost nearly 2 million PlayStation Plus subscribers since they revamped their service in June. So those numbers went from 47.3 to 45.4 million. And Sony specifically commented that the ratio of subscribed PS5 users is much higher than PS4 users, and they plan to, quote unquote, accelerate the adoption of PS5 hardware to recover this engagement moving forward. I mean, this is a little bullshit. They're saying, okay, well, they're like saying as if, having a PS5 makes people more likely to want to subscribe to the service. But I think, it's fairly apparent to me that the people who are more interested in subscribing to the service would be the early adopters in the first place. So a little bit of an unfair comparison.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there.
Let's just make more PS5s, and these people are all coming back.
I don't think so.
I don't know about that.
I mean, they're right to a degree, but that's not the reason why the numbers fell off. You know what I mean? Like, what they're saying is true, but that doesn't have anything to do with this.
Well, if we want to mock trying to put a spin on something, let's give Microsoft a chance, because they're going to overthrow Sony here, in my opinion. So they indicated last week for a second fiscal year in a row that Game Pass has failed to meet growth targets, and this year by a larger margin than last year. So going back to 2020, the 71%, the target was 71% growth, and actual growth was 85.75. 2021 was 47.79, and actual was 37.48, and 2022 targeted growth was 72.88, with 28% being actual growth. Now, I feel, and maybe this isn't necessarily them putting their foot in their mouth as far as narrative, but that, they're talking about their expectation, substantially missing growth targets. And to me, a lot of this has to have with 2020, the growth target being 71% and the actual being 85. Now, let's keep in mind they're talking fiscal years, which are ending in the middle of the year. It's almost so that target started in mid 2019. It's almost like something happened in 2020 that may have artificially pushed up engagement and give them unreasonable long-term expectations. I don't know what that could have been.
Gee, I can't imagine, right? Where the fiscal year ends in March 31st, 2020, and then like something happened around that time, maybe a couple of weeks prior. Like, oh boy,
doesn't ring a bell, guys.
I mean, even as just like, some dummy sitting in his basement, they're saying that their target was 71% and they hit 85 in the year of COVID. Even that they would have targeted almost 48% the following year seems like ridiculously unreasonable to me at face value.
Yes, I agree.
I don't know. I mean, like, you should have been very thankful that you even hit that 71 in 2020 because that was all COVID. At the same time, when this news was coming out, Phil Spencer did mention that Game Pass is 10 to 15% of Microsoft's gaming revenue, and specifically commented that as we've always been wondering, that this is profitable for the company. So all of this news makes me wonder, has the industry overall estimated the interest in these on-demand style platforms? And so I'll kick this off because I've got a little bit of a guess of what may be going on here.
Okay.
I feel like the industry overall has a little bit of a complex about the tech from past failures not accurately estimating what trends are coming up. So we can talk about like N64 opting for cartridges over discs, or even Wii U. We've talked about Wii U's, definitely not the only fault, but the fact that they tried to capitalize on this like large touchscreen right when tablets were coming out. And I feel like because of some of these past failures, specifically related to not having an understanding of where tech was going, a lot of companies are overcompensating in the wrong direction by really trying to stay ahead of the curve. And I think that maybe both Sony and Microsoft have put a little bit too much stake into this, Netflix or Disney Plus subscription style service, just in an effort to say, okay, even we look at, streaming and the recent bust of Stadia. Sorry, I'm losing where I'm going with this a little bit.
It's all good.
I think maybe they're seeing services like that come out and not capitalizing on what people want, but still feeling like the need for something moving in a different direction other than just selling a game for a set price as a one-off and trying to do something different.
Yeah, I think this is sort of roundabout, but I think you'll understand what I mean. Remember how, like, when Netflix was just starting to become a thing, the streaming part of it, not the sending discs in the mail, and you could find crazy stuff on there. I could watch all the Godzilla movies. I could watch like old noir movies from the 40s and 50s. They don't have any of that type of shit anymore. It's all like Netflix originals, and like you have a handful of recent movies. Obviously, the Disney and Marvel stuff is gone because Disney Plus, which isn't their fault, but like there's like almost nothing I want to watch on there. I'm a Hulu person. That's the only thing I've subscribed to is Hulu. I've never really had Netflix, but every time I flip through it, I'm like, I just don't. Steve's nodding with me here, and he understands what I mean.
I'm right with you. I got my Netflix sub in 2010, and I spent a good chunk of time just watching movies and anime that I would have had to pay way too much to watch otherwise.
Yeah. So the reason why I say that is I think when you lose sight of that sort of stuff when it comes to the subscription services like Sony and Microsoft, I think the thing that they don't understand with the Game Pass and with the PlayStation Plus is that you want to deliver stuff to everybody. Like, not that you have to cover every single niche in the world, but like I said, if you just you can play God of War and Ark Survival Evolved and, Persona 5. Not everyone's interested in all that shit.
Can't see the forest for the trees, just trying to make it too like explicitly appealing to the mainstream.
Yeah. I don't really care if Halo is on there. You know what I mean? So like, it's not that I wouldn't play it if I had an Xbox, because I would, but that's not why it would be there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. One last big question. Kevin, take a nap. So Steve, Granzilla, that company, former staff from IREM, that's made one of our favorite games, I would say, in the last couple of years, an R-Type Final 2. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I mean,
I liked it a lot.
Okay. They went bananas with announcements last week. So like they announced something called R-Type Final 3 Evolved. What the fuck? Wait a second. It's just R-Type Final 2, Steve.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Why did they? Okay. Do you really think
No, I mean, yes. I mean, you might remember when we finished the game last year and we could just make the title screen whatever the fuck we wanted it to say. And that's kind of what they're doing with this game. But I don't know. For a package release, I don't like this, that they're calling it that.
What does your title screen say? Mine says Bido Burst 5.
I think I was just a wise ass and just made it say R-Type Final 3.
I think I did that too. Since they updated to 2.5, they added more stuff in there where you can make it say 2.5 and stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's just an update and sort of revamping, I guess, of R-Type Final 2. It's PS5 exclusive. There's 7 exclusive new stages. I think that's what we would be after here if we were going to double dip. Yes, we're going to double dip. Did you buy any DLC for R-Type Final 2?
No, I didn't. So I'm spoiler alerts. I'm really into this.
What I really find interesting about this that I can't really wrap my head around yet is they said there's like a new performance-based difficulty system. So it tries to kill you the better you are or something. I feel like that never really works out in console games, Steve.
I mean, I have admitted to needing most of my 99 continues, but I don't know what that's going to do for me here. Like after a while, after using 5 continues, is it just going to drop in one ship and then go, yay, we moved to next level. You did it.
Yeah, see, I just hope this is an option. I feel like R-Type Final 2 and the first R-Type Final, for that matter, rely on those very strict, 5 difficulty levels, of which there is more than 5, by the way, because I think if you beat it on R-Typer, you get R-Typer 2, then R-Typer 3, which I don't fucking dare do, by the way. Normal is good enough for me.
I was going to say, I'm already too scared to go past normal.
Yeah, hard isn't too bad. R-Typer is rough. Graphics on Unreal Engine 5, baby. I guess they're porting the game to Unreal Engine 5. I don't know what it runs on before, but I guess that's a thing. I already spoiled it, but you're double dipping, right? Surely this is enough for you to go at this again.
Yeah, I didn't buy the DLC the first time just because, I was missing the system for a while and blah, blah, blah. But so, yes, I'll just buy it all again on PS5. Why not? Even though it's only on PS5 and there's no other real reason for it to only be on PS5.
I mean, Unreal Engine 5 will probably be able to take advantage the best on there. Plus, if they want to get crazy and be the first 120 frames per second shmup that there is, I mean, I guess they could do that. I mean, more response time in a genre like that is never a bad thing.
I guess not.
We don't really know that to be a case. Yes, of course, I'm double dipping. But then they announced something else, which I'm scared of, Steve. Already quaking in my boots.
Yeah, R-Type Tactics 1 and 2 Cosmos. It's a collection of 2 PSP games, and they're being remade into one package. Yeah, this exists.
Did you know that there was R-Type Tactics game? Well, the first one came here on PSP as R-Type Command. Did you even know that was a thing before this?
The only reason I know what this is because after you got me Final 2 last year, I needed to look up what the hell Granzella was, because I remembered that IREM that hasn't existed in forever. So I needed to look up what the fuck they did do, and that they make R-Type and R-Type adjacent games. So that's what they do, including these, to which the response to myself was, neat, but there's no way they'll be pulling these out of storage. I guess COVID and other things make fools of everybody, I guess. So, because here they come.
Did you know this is also going to be running on Unreal Engine 5?
Why?
I don't know. I almost said R-Type Engine 5, by the way. I don't know why.
That makes more sense. There's no reason that I would think. Are you going to try these?
Man, I've seen the
You've done a Shining Force or two now.
Yeah, but this is hexagons, man. It's a lot more sides than a
square. What's a hexagon but a square with 2 more sides? Come on.
Okay, easy for you to say, Mr. I don't break a sweat at fucking Advance Wars 75 or whatever, but it's just
I'm with Andre. I totally get that logic. The hexagon is much more intimidating.
Thank you. It's very intimidating. Yeah, sure. I might make an ass out of myself and try these. But man, they look intimidating. But one more thing real quick that they announced maybe about a month ago that we were intrigued by was they're remaking Formation Z, the Jalico shmup from like 1984, which I had never played, but then I discovered it's on Arcade Archives. So me and Steve, in the interest of this endeavor, decided to play it. What did you think of Formation Z, the original?
Yes, for once, we did some preparation for our show, and I can conclude for a fact, beyond any reasonable doubt, that Formation Z is, in fact, a video game. It sure is something you pumped a quarter into, shot things at for a few seconds, died, and then repeated the cycle of. It is certainly not a vending machine. Or a ham steak, or even a new kind of cheese doodle. It is a video game.
Would you eat a ham steak and egg shaped like a Z?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, but the bone has to be in the middle of the Z. It has to be like centered.
Well, I'm not going to eat the bone. I'm not an animal.
You don't eat the marrow out of your ham steak bone? The little jelly part? I love that shit.
Well, I'm not going to swallow the bone.
I didn't say that. God damn it. Will you? Okay. I did not suggest you eat the Z bone. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's all right. It's a great concept. It's certainly not a great game by any means. I could see why they wanted to remake it. I remember showing you the trailer being like, boy, I think someone's reusing their R-Type Final 2 engine, aren't they?
Look, it's like I say for movies. If we're going to remake something that maybe needs a boost, not necessarily something that we already like already.
Yeah, like Tron. That's why Tron Legacy is like the best sequel. Took something that was just like whatever, and then made it into the best.
So this Formation Z make or whatever they're calling it, I think can be very good.
I like the way it looks. It just looks like R-Type Final 2 though, so I mean, which is fine. But I'm into it. Okay, we're gonna take a break and come back with some silly shit. We're back. We're black. Wait, are we?
You know,
I'm not answering that.
You guys, you know what?
That feels wildly inappropriate.
You know what?
Don't put us
I
in
need
this
to be able
position.
to. No. I need to be able to say black things on this show as a black man, and you, my white co-host, need to support me. Okay, God.
And we support you. We just can't go say those things too.
See, this is a game that nobody is. You're setting us up for failure.
Oh my God,
It's not fair.
Oh Jesus Christ! I'll train you guys yet. You'll get there. I promise. You have to get there. Okay.
No, it's okay. We could. Andre said we could say.
We are.
I didn't say go
Partially
there.
black as a whole of fine time. Is that fair? Can I say that?
Yes,
Okay.
you can. Yes, you can. I gave you
Andre
permission
ruled
just
yes.
now.
Okay. I am sure glad you did not say, no, you cannot say this, and I'm not editing it out. And then all
That
of a
would've been
sudden,
a
front page of the New York Times tomorrow is calling me a racist.
Hashtag Kevin is canceled.
Yes, Kevin is over party. Okay. I made up a game and I don't have a name for it. We usually come up with snappy names. I don't have one, but usually we embarrass me with the Pokemon or Kevin with the Capcom title or Sega. We usually play these games to, fuck with each other or just laugh like JV titles. We have not embarrassed Steve yet, so I'm going to today.
Some say living life is its own source of embarrassment.
Wah, wah. Well, not today. You're going to be even more embarrassed because here's the game, basically. Sorry, I don't have a snappy title. Start the music. So here's how it's going to go. I'm going to name an album title. Now, popular albums, multi-platinum records from the 90s. Okay? And then I'm going to give you two choices as to what artist it is. And you're going to guess. So you're going to have a 50-50 chance, just like any of our games. Okay? How do you feel about this going in? You always say you have no music knowledge, like none, but...
No, but even with a 50-50 chance, I feel better than, say if you were trying to institute a Name That Tune show.
Oh, geez. I don't think we could do that.
This is bullshit. Steve gets a 50-50 chance. You have 50-50 chances with Pokemon Real or Fake, and I get fucked with the 1/3 chances.
To be fair, Kevin, you're on a video game podcast.
Yeah, it is about video games.
The other day to have Steve have three choices. Obviously, that fell on deaf ears.
Well, you know what? That's more work for me, so I don't really want to do that. So anyway, we're going to do A-B, okay? All right. So I have like, I don't know, 9 or 10 here. We'll see how many we want to do, okay? We're going to play it by ear, as we usually do. All right. First album title. Use Your Illusion. Use Your Illusion. Which
we have spoke about on the podcast only a month and a half ago, did we not?
I think we did. Is Use Your Illusion Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses, Steve? Motley Crue or Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion. What are you thinking?
See, I listened to the episodes I'm not on. Motley Crue.
It is Guns N' Roses.
Of course it was.
It's 1992. It's a double record, actually. Actually, two separate records that came out at the same time. There's Use Your Illusion 1 and Use Your Illusion 2. But nobody really thinks... People just think of it as a double record. Okay. Next one. Violator. Violator. Is that Depeche Mode or New Order? Violator. 1990.
Violator. Let's see.
Cover is black and it has a nice, pretty, artistic rose coming up. Violator.
I almost see the cover. Almost. See, I'm a little young at that stage.
I would name some singles, but I feel like it might actually be too obvious even for you. I'm sorry. I know that sounds insulting, but like, there's some pretty big hits on there. So,
and based on the naming convention, I want to say it's New Order.
Is that your final answer? New Order?
Yes.
It's Depeche Mode, buddy.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it contains...
See, Kevin thought two choices was too easy. See, I'm already 0 for 2.
Okay. All right. Let's get... Come on. You're going to get some. Okay. Next one. In Utero. In Utero. Is that Pearl Jam or Nirvana? In Utero.
Okay. I know what I want to say, but I know what it probably is. And then I'm going to say it, and it's going to be wrong, and our listeners are going to laugh at me. So I'm just going to rip off the Band-Aid and say it's Pearl Jam.
Buddy, In Utero is Nirvana. I'm sorry.
Of course it is. Yep.
Come on. Okay, come on. I know you can get one of these. Come on. Okay. Let's do this one. When Disaster Strikes. When Disaster Strikes. Is that Busta Rhymes or is that Jay-Z? When Disaster Strikes. Come on, 2 New York rappers I gave you. Come on.
Yeah, that I was not allowed to listen to at that time. You know that rap music's no good for you.
Jeez, come on. I know you got this one. When Disaster Strikes.
And the hopping.
The hippity and the hoppity.
Oh. And you know what? Let's just keep being wrong and say Busta Rhymes.
It's Busta Rhymes. When Disaster Strikes.
Now I feel bad.
You got it. Okay, let's do a couple more, shall we? Under the Table and Dreaming. Under the Table and Dreaming. Is that the Pixies or Dave Matthews Band? Under the Table and Dreaming, 1993, I think. I don't know why I keep telling you the year as if that matters.
That's not going to help. It also sounds like it also sounds like a album name you made up. So I'm going to say Dave Matthews Band.
Dave Matthews Band is it. Under the Table and Dreaming.
I feel like whenever I saw those albums, these were like, I could have named this shit.
But that's the kind of thing I would name my Mario courses. You know what I mean? So it's like it's.
Well, you also tended to name them after better sounding albums.
Not really. I don't think so. But I usually did song titles, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, another one. Let's do one more. Jagged Little Pill. Jagged Little Pill. Is that Alanis Morissette or Tori Amos? Jagged Little Pill.
Jagged Little Pill.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know one of those. I'm sorry, my two choices were Alanis Morissette and
Tori Amos.
Okay. I know a bit more Morissette, but I'm not. So I'm going to say it's choice B.
Tori Amos?
Tori Amos.
It is Alanis Morissette.
Of course.
Jagged Little Pill, the best-selling solo female artist record of all time. Sold like 23 million copies or something like that. Canada's own Alanis Morissette. Okay, let's do one more. I feel like one more. Okay? Okay. One more. The Velvet Rope. The Velvet Rope. Is that Mariah Carey or Janet Jackson? The Velvet Rope. Big old smash hit in the year of our Lord, 1997. That Velvet Rope.
Okay, this is where I admit I'm 10 years old in 1997, and all I heard in 1997 was the same mix of Backstreet Boys or Spice Girls songs.
Probably Hot Jams right there.
So... I'm going to say that's Janet Jackson.
That is Janet Jackson. Velvet Rope. Okay, see? Come on, that wasn't so bad. Was it?
How many was that? Like 3?
I think 3 out of 7, maybe? I don't know. I wasn't counting. I never keep score around here.
That was more than the 0 I was expecting.
Hey, look, you got a ways to go to beat my 1 for 10 for Pokemon Real or Fake at my birthday. I'll never.
Yeah, that was truly a miracle of odds.
Yeah, that was insane. Like, as long as you don't do that bad, that's all right. That wasn't too bad. We'll have to do that again sometime. See, everyone can get got on the show called Fine Time.
Was that a concern from our fans that I wasn't getting got enough?
Yeah, I got a lot of fan mail. You know, Steve hasn't gotten got yet. He needs to get got. So I devised a game.
Oh, geez, sorry guys. I didn't realize I wasn't getting got.
Yeah, well now you got. Now you got.
We can get got me again. I don't mind.
Okay, sometime in the future. But I want to follow up on something I talked about maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago, where I was talking about Arctic Monkeys, and they have a new record coming out called The Car. And I was talking about how I didn't really like it begat a discussion about lyrics last time. And that's kind of why I brought up their previous record. Now that album, The Car, is out, and I said I'd follow up in it, and I would. So just because we were focused on lyrics last time, I'll start there. They're much more grounded and sometimes kind of nice on The Car. Because last time I was talking about, he sounded like a drunken, rambling, had a couple lines of cocaine in the back guy at a 70s party just being annoying. I think you guys like the line, "What do you mean you never seen Blade Runner?" You remember? That was one of the lyrics. Yes. Yeah. So, compared to that, this is a lot less obnoxious. And like I said, kind of nice. I feel like, they're not love songs or anything like that, but there's a lot more feeling in it and a lot more relatable, even if I don't know what the songs are about, because I don't need to relate to songs directly because I feel like they're about me or something. I just like to relate to the feeling of, what I mean, no matter what it's about or who it's about or whatever. Gives you a certain feeling. That's relation to me. So you have that. The problem is they're trying to go for this, just like the last record, they're trying to go for this slow-paced, loungy, a bit jazzy, a bit dreamy, and if none of those things sound like they go together, it's because they don't. It's a very common question to ask, like, if an album is confusing, is like, who is this for? I think that's always like a good place to start. And it's a great place to start here. Who the fuck is this for? And what is this? Not that you have to be able to fit every album you listen to into a genre, but I would have no idea how to explain this to anybody who hasn't listened to Arctic Monkeys for 10 years, back when they were a rock band. Because, like, think about it. Even, when Radiohead was doing Pablo Honey and the Bends, you know what I mean? And then as the 90s go on, they start to become, by the beginning of, 2000, that's like Kid A time and Amnesiac. They've become a completely different band. But you could describe what that is. It's electronic, it's glitch, it's experimental, right? It's out there, it's spacey, right? All those things, all those descriptions would fit Kid A or Amnesiac. I have no idea how to describe the car outside of the descriptors I just gave you that don't make any sense together. And I think that's the most frustrating thing about it, because it doesn't matter what kind of music you're making, whether it's pop music. People think when you hear the word hooks, or people think pop music. That's not always what that is. It's something to just literally hook you into. Oh, I like that part. Oh, I like that bass line. Oh, that guitar lick is good. I feel like this album honestly has none of those things. Every time you hear I forget the names of the songs now because they all blend together. That's another problem with it. All the songs are like the same tempo. But like, there was one song, I think it's the third or fourth track, and it's after the bridge, it sweeps into this like nice stringed arrangement, right? And it's like, oh, that's nice. And then it's gone. It's there for like 2 seconds. Any other songwriter would like give you that or loop it, or that's your hook. But that's there for like 5 seconds in a 4-minute song. You know what I mean? It felt like an oasis that I heard one part that I liked. If this sounds harsh, it kind of is, because I really used to honestly love the Arctic Monkeys, and it's not that I hate this. I really don't. But I just can't listen to this and sit around and pretend this is good. And that's one thing that really pisses me off in the fan base. And this happens with anything, Kevin, where a band really changes their sound. And then there's like a few different camps, right? People are like the sycophants who love anything the band does, whether it's crappy or not, right? Then you have the people who thinks it sucks and wants to sound like the old shit. Two camps I don't agree with. Then you have a weird middle ground where you have people who are like, well, they're not 17 anymore, so they can't make the same thing. They're not going to sound like that like they did before. And it's like, that's fine, but you don't have to sound like this. We've talked about this before, Kevin. Like, I'm all for bands changing. I mean, my favorite band is REM. They change their sound every record, right? So, like, I mean, it's fine. I'm okay with that. David Bowie. I love chameleons, especially in rock music. But do you feel that way sometimes? I feel like you talked about a bit of this on your Secret Sauce episodes. Like, some albums that you didn't get into, but it's just like, it's not because it's different from the other stuff. It's just not good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's how I kind of feel. And I just really resent they're not kids anymore. They're in their 40s. Okay, fine, but you don't have to make this. It doesn't have to sound like this. Anyway, so the car is kind of a bust. What's a good car metaphor, Steve? This car is a lemon.
It's broken down.
Okay, this car is not run out of gas.
The car crashed.
The car crashed. Yeah, so it's unfortunate. Maybe in a few years here, they'll change their sound again and do something I like more. But I'm not disparaging anyone who actually likes this record. That's fine. I just cannot do it.
Be 17 again, Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah, go back to being 17 and making, fast punk music again with that snotty British sneer. Anyway, so that's how I feel about that. Oh, well. But a couple other more random topics before we get the fuck out of here, just because why not? It's Act 3. We can say whatever the fuck we want. And I don't know why I thought of this. There was nothing that really spurred this, but this is a question I love asking everybody, and I can't believe I've known you guys this long without asking you, what is the best meal you've ever had? Like, ever at a restaurant, you've made at home, anything. Kevin, like, what is, like, honestly the best food, like, you've ever happened to have?
This is easy. This has been a set answer in my mind for like 15 years. When I was a kid, we went to Disneyland one time, and we went to this place called the Rainforest Cafe, which Steve mentioned that used to be somewhat common in the States in the 90s.
Yep.
This was the only time I'd ever seen or heard of the Rainforest Cafe. If you're not familiar with it, and it's very well done. Everything is set up like a rainforest inside. They go all out on the decorations, and every like 15 minutes or so, it gets really dark and there's a thunderstorm and the lightning crashes and the lights flare up and it booms in there or whatever. And, you know, you hear frogs and parrots and shit.
It's great. So I've been there a number of times myself.
Yeah, when we were there, I had this coconut breaded shrimp, and I still think about it quite often. And it was just perfect. It wasn't too sweet, but the coconut definitely shined through. It wasn't too greasy, but it wasn't dry. It was light and it was crispy, and it was just so fucking good. Maybe part of this was the atmosphere, but of any meal I think back on fondly is the coconut breaded shrimp at Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah, Kevin, this is where I got to point out. We had a lot of these kinds of restaurants in the 90s, not just Rainforest Cafe. Andre, in particular, being in a West Coast elite, might remember Planet Hollywood, or the All-Star Cafe, where they would have like all the weird memorabilia. It's like, look, guys, it's the Kane from Citizen Kane.
Lots of Hard Rock Cafe as well.
Hard Rock Cafe is still like that's the one that's like persisted through the year. That's still around. That's like the one we still have left. The last time I was at a Rainforest Cafe was in Disney World in the Animal Kingdom. That's like one of the endangered species they're protecting there is Rainforest Cafe. And I was there in 2016, and it was just as weird and animatronic-y and thundery as you remember it, Kevin.
Well, that's good. I'm glad it's still there.
I think atmospherics count. If you're talking about a restaurant meal, by the way, I think it does. I think that plays into the meal. I think that counts. It's not just food.
But I don't want that to take away from the coconut breaded shrimp, because it would have been just as good if I would have eaten it in a dumpster.
I mean, yes, but like I'm just saying it can factor in. I don't think there's any problem with that. Good coconut breaded shrimp though is like, I don't even like coconut, and when that's nailed, great. When that's good, oh, it's so good.
I've tried doing it at home and I can never recreate that feeling.
Oh, you probably need more MSG. That's to fix everything. So I'll talk about mine, then Steve can go. God. Over 20 years ago now, in 2001, I was in Chicago for a week. It's like May 2001. And of course, we get there. It's like, I don't know, 5 p.m. or something. We go to the hotel, set down our stuff. We're just walking around downtown. And we're like, we got hungry, right? And it's like, well, what should we eat? The first thing we saw was this deep dish pizza place downtown. It's like, okay, I guess we're going here, right? Why not, right? We're in Chicago. Holy shit. It was not only the best pizza I've ever had, it is the best meal I have ever had in my fucking life. It blew my mind. Everything was perfect. The crust was like sort of like cornmeal crust, I guess. It was like crumbly and perfect. It was like the cheese was spot on. The pepperoni was spot on. The sauce was like, I don't even like red sauce because I generally don't like tomato products that much. That sauce I would have drinking from the ladle straight. It was so fucking good. You know what? I've never even bothered, even when I got back to San Diego, I've never bothered to have deep dish pizza since, because I know nothing will ever be like that. I haven't even attempted it anywhere. So like that will be, maybe, unless I go back to Chicago someday, the only deep dish pizza I will ever have, because that blew my fucking mind.
Describe the cheese a little bit more. You really glossed over the cheese.
Oh, it was like, see, it's hard to remember now because it's been so long, but like, you know, it was the perfect consistency. It was stretchy if you wanted to be stretchy, but you could also like cut it with because you know, it's like a fork and knife kind of pizza, right? You could cut it just perfectly.
Gooey with just that little rubbery.
Yeah. Exactly, because you didn't have to, like, you know how some cheese is a little too stringy, you have to like wrap it around your fork. No big deal. I mean, it's fine. But like, this was stretchy when it needed to be stretchy, not rubbery, but that sort of consistency when you needed to be. Tactile. Exactly.
Tactile cheese.
It was the perfect cheese, man. It was so good. And the pepperoni, it was just dispersed right through the cheese. Everything, all the ingredients were just like the right ratio. Ugh, I could talk miles about that pizza. I think I just did. I could write a book about that pizza, Steve.
Well, it's a good thing I'm not talking about my pizza, which is the best pizza there ever is.
That's what I think about your pizza in New York.
You've never been here, so I don't think you get to. Yeah. And really, you know what? I had a hard time with this, and so I'm going to cheat a little. I'm not going to talk about a food that I can get right now. I'm going to talk about something I can't get anymore.
Okay.
Because, you know, to insinuate that I can get any of this stuff again, you know, would almost be like a death knell, it feels like at this point after listening to you guys. Shit, it's been 5 years now since these guys closed. There was this deli, and they had these huge-ass sandwiches that topped off at around $10 to $12 each. But the one I would get more than anything, if I had the time to eat one at home, they insisted on calling a Long Islander. Now, what is this Long Islander? It is a Reuben. Do you guys know what a Reuben is, or do I need to explain that?
Yeah, had one a couple days ago.
Yes, love Reubens.
Yeah, except instead of sauerkraut, they pack it with coleslaw that they made in house on this giant ass hero with just this perfectly lean pastrami and this brown mustard and melty ass Swiss. This was a shirt optional sandwich. You got that shit all over yourself if you weren't careful. There were not enough napkins to protect yourself from this thing, but you were set for the day when you ate that thing. There was 10 out of 10. I missed those guys. I wanted to get one after my sister's wedding. My sister got married. I'm like, okay, things have calmed down. I could really go for one of those about now. And then I found out they sold off the place, and it just bummed me out. And then it bummed me out even more because they sold it off to some guys that didn't really understand what a deli was, because they're trying to also be Starbucks in the front half of the store.
Oh boy.
And no one really is like, no, we got wine and cheese and charcuterie board. I just want a sandwich.
I mean, look, I nothing wrong with a good charcuterie board, but like, if that's not what you're there for, then
you calling yourselves campus heroes. Now let me buy a hero, and they're not even that good anymore.
So I assume you can still get that sandwich, but it's not good.
No, I can't get that sandwich anymore, and none of the sandwiches they do make are that good at all. Like, the Italian hero used to be a good standby, but now forget it. I'll just buy my own croquettes and make that. But to make that weird ass Reuben again, I don't think I can do on my own.
You know, I don't really like coleslaw, but that sandwich as described sounds really good. I think I would definitely try that.
It is. The way they made the coleslaw was especially crunchy, and it just added to it. And then the way that having sauerkraut doesn't.
I've had sandwiches with coleslaw before, and it's worked. That's why I'm not like super scared of it. because like I know that can be a thing. So, but it's that I've had that like on a grilled sandwich. You know what I mean? Not like a sub. So
yeah. These guys also had really good garlic pickles that I'm pretty sure they brined in-house. And, oh, man, I just miss these guys.
Don't think I've ever had a garlic pickle. I'm not a pickle person, but garlic makes everything good, right? So
I'm generally not either, but I like a nice thick one with a good crunch.
There is something about a good pickle.
Oh, my God. I'm so fucking hungry right now.
Well,
yeah.
let's one more thing we wanted to bring up, just because we've been thinking about this for a while, and we wanted to talk about it here. Before we get out of here, canceled games that still you think about, that still kind of hurt you, that you think about, and it's like, damn, I wish I could have played that. You know, we don't have to go super in depth, just because, I mean, unless you want to, which is fine. But like, let me go first, because I don't think I have a whole lot to say about mine, but I just want to put it out there. I think about the SNES version of the Rare project known as Dream very often. Like, so it's known, obviously, that a lot of the elements of Dream were recycled into Banjo-Kazooie. But obviously, as a Super Nintendo game that's like, I think it was pre-rendered, it obviously wasn't going to be a 3D platformer, of course. So like, what was that original game? It feels so damn mysterious. Like, who knows? Because it seemed like it was pretty far along too. I don't know. It seemed like the pre-render tech pioneered by Donkey Kong Country, but who could really say? I would have loved to have found out. Because for some reason, I feel like it's one of those abandoned projects that had the potential to become like one of those great SNES games, and that is like based on absolutely nothing except feeling. I just remember seeing pictures of it and being like, God damn, I wish that could have been a thing instead of Banjo-Kazooie. But here we are in history, right? So I mean, not a whole lot is known about this game, then that's why I don't have a lot to say about it, but it could have been Rare's one SNES classic that they didn't really make on that system.
Hey, easy there.
No, I will not be easy.
You already have one bad Super Nintendo take today.
I looked into this online after I seen you added it into the notes, and aesthetically it was excellent what was available.
Yeah, it looks so cool, right? I don't know. I just have a feeling about it when I see those pictures. It's like, damn, I really wish we could have played that. You know? I don't usually think that. I don't think that about Dinosaur Planet. I don't think that about other rare games or other canceled games I see. Very few of them. But that one, I just like, damn, we missed something there. So I often think about Dream in its original incarnation. Kevin, why don't you?
Yeah, I was going to talk about Star Wars 1313, and that, you know, from what we knew, that did look cool. But I think Grand Theft Auto is my theme for the night, because the more I thought about this, the more it pissed me off, and it's always pissed me off. Just the fact that it was all but confirmed that GTA 5 had DLC coming. There was voice actors that had talked about it, and we didn't know what the DLC was, but I've always really resented online success, because I feel like it just because online blew up, we never got DLC. And I as stupid as the statement sounds, I feel like GTA 5 is criminally underrated, because that all anybody thinks about anymore is just the online component to it. And I really do feel like GTA 5 had one of the best campaigns of all time. And it got vastly overshadowed. And of course, we lost the DLC as a result. I would have loved to play DLC for GTA 5. If that was announced to be coming tomorrow, I would still be just as excited about it, even though that game is 100 years old at this point. So that one hurts.
Yeah, I do remember that being a rumor. Even I was interested, though, as you mentioned in passing, Star Wars 1313. Like, I'm not a Star Wars person, but I remember seeing that. It's like, yo, that
looked cool.
Yeah, that's kind of a big miss too. Steve, what do you think? What's a canceled project that still gets your goat?
Look, most of the games that get canceled that I get invested in, they usually get moved to another platform. Even Mother 3 got scaled down to GBA. I think we ended up winning that way, even though it never made it here. But maybe it will. Huh? No, I'm just kidding. Or am I? No. But people online need to stop wishing, oh man, what if it came out on Nintendo 64 DD? No, stop with that already.
Yep.
That said, speaking of Mother 3, the developer of that, Brownie Brown, I refuse to call them by their real name, and Level 5 were working on a game for the DS called Fantasy Life, and that on the DS, and that looked fucking awesome, and it kept getting delayed forever, and then they moved it to 3DS. What happened to it on 3DS is going to be the subject of a different Act 3 topic, but I am very curious as to what would have happened to what the original Fantasy Life concept if they just stuck to it on plain old DS.
I gotta be honest, I don't think I've ever heard of this, even on 3DS. I know I was kind of out at that time, but I don't think I know what this game is at all.
Fantasy Life. Oh, I'm not. Nope. No. I am not jumping down this rabbit hole today.
Okay.
Nope. Nope. Another time.
I will. Did I also catch you say Level 5 worked on this?
They sure fucking did.
Because as you probably well know, they had a project for original Xbox that was canceled called True Fantasy Live Online. Do you remember that?
I remember.
And Microsoft, Microsoft was going to publish it, and they canceled it, and they pissed them off so much that they never did another Microsoft thing.
It was unrelated to this. At the time, there was more Brownie Brown than Level 5, but as time moved on, another time.
I have some bad news for you, Stephen. When this topic was put in the sheet, Andre and I had a side discussion, and we decided that if you could get through this topic without bringing up Mother 3, we were going to give you $1 million, and you failed it. Sorry.
I don't know how that's possible when it was in the notes, but you know.
$1 million fine time dollars, mind you. Not dollars.
What, that I can use for bets in our future segment?
Oh, you can use those. You can use those $1 million for some pretty cool stuff. Let me tell you, but you're not getting them.
Well, the Padres didn't even make the World Series, so I'm definitely out 50 fine time dollars next time that comes around. Anyway, all right, let's get the fuck out of here. We've talked long enough. Fine Time Podcast on Twitter. Follow us there. Look in the bio, Fine Time Podcast, to find our personal names on social media, or look in the description of this podcast to find the same. See you next time, guys. Bye.
Was make another box of Zombies Ate My Levels neighbors. Excuse me.